And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who is still celebrating Taylor Swift owning her Masters. He is Cody.
I want the Reputation re-release, Kieran. Come on. We got to give the people something
You're
here.
never satisfied. Your Swifties are never satisfied. All
No,
right.
no, not at all.
Well, look, like the reason I kind of brought that up, number one, we hadn't got a chance to bring it up since the big news. Number two is that it does, for the Swifties out there, make everything kind of whole again, right? And now the Tigers are whole again, and so
Except for Matt Beerling.
in so many ways, Matt Vierling is the reputation of the Tigers, I
Yes, there
guess.
we go. There we go. All right.
Bring it all the way around. Little programming note: we're recording this actually during the game 2 of the White Sox Tigers series. We're gonna do things a little bit differently with this midweek podcast. Kind of try something out. So if there's something crazy that happens, or you are interested in what we think about X, we'll get to that in the episode that will publish Friday. Just wanted to shake things up a little bit and try something new and see if you guys like it. So
it's All-Star season. We're going to be making some All-Star cases, and the Tigers, for the first time in a very long time, have quite a few contenders.
Quite a few strong ones, and we'll get to one quite noteworthy one a little bit later. But for the wholesome element here, there's the Parker Meadows, season debut, and Kerry Carpenter hitting 3 home runs in Monday's game, a game that went about as you would expect. There, so the Parker thing, I'll just say that off the top. You know it. You remember it, but there's something to just seeing it again.
About the aesthetic of it, man.
Like,
wow.
it just is so much fun to watch. He wastes zero time. He gets on base. He has a couple extra base hits, stolen base, diving catch in the outfield, 3 runs scored. I mean, like, if it was honestly one of those things, it was like, are the Tigers like more dangerous? Like, they just won their 40th game of the season on Monday. They're more dangerous. Like, arguably their most exciting and kind of completes the team guy is now back and looks like he's opening day fresh off tearing up in spring training. And then Kerry Carpenter, something we had not kind of gotten to, was didn't have the most lucrative of Mays. And I told my wife before the game, I was like, yeah, I mean, Kerry, this, that, the other thing with what he did in May, and it's like pop, 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 and going for the 4th home run, which would have been really cool. Not a terribly long list of guys in Tigers history who have hit 3 in one game. So I guess the kind of the fun way to go about this here, Cody, is like, what's the more noteworthy or more important with all those things I just laid out there? The Parker Meadows return and the way he returned, and Kerry Carpenter kind of getting off the power schneid a little bit to start June.
Well, the most important thing is easily Parker Meadows returning. We all know Kerry Carpenter, Kerry Bonds can hit for power. Maybe an occasional little drought, but that's there. That's not going to change anytime soon. This team is somehow has the best record in baseball without Parker Meadows until right now. Parker Meadows, we all know his importance to the team. And like you said, just seeing it was kind of a reminder of like just how important he is. I know AJ Hinch had probably been kind of debating like, do you plug Parker back into the leadoff spot right away, or do you maybe hold on to that, see how he's doing, especially with as successful as Kerry Carpenter had been in the leadoff spot and some of the pressure that was continuing to put on opposing managers. AJ let off Parker led off Parker right away, and he looked like a leadoff spark plug. He's not necessarily the typical leadoff guy just because he's fast. He's also got some pop in that bat. And then you start thinking about how the rest of this lineup looks. Glaber in the 2-hole. You want to bring in a lefty to face Parker and Kerry. Well, you're going to have to get past Glaber. Then you still run the risk of a pinch hit for Kerry if AJ wants to do that. You start going 2, 3, 4, 5. Suddenly you have the look of like a very potent order, like a legitimate run producing order with some real bats kind of squeezed in the middle there and a true table setter up top. So we'll see if Parker Meadows continues to make baseball. Jumping back into the majors, looking easy as he did his first game back, but um, I thought it was important, significant. Somehow there's still a higher ceiling for this team that has played so well.
Right. And also there's an element of Parker being there is also the beneficiary of Kerry Carpenter.
Mhm.
So like everyone kind of fits more in place. You look at the lineup Monday and Tuesday, and it did feel like a more wholesome, like this is a Tigers team lineup construction that we had, anticipated and not been able to see up until this point. So like instant impact, you could argue it's kind of Parker's thing, man. By the way, Parker, friend of the podcast, had him on this offseason. He was great with him and Austin talking ball. When he came back up and he immediately hurt his hamstring, like what did he do? He did it sliding in the second base. That's like making a play, right? If memory serves, over there in Cincinnati. He comes back from the hamstring, and that's when the tear like is on a tear, and then you have the home run against the Astros in game 2, and like all this stuff is like he is kind of like instant. Like if he was a basketball player, you call it instant offense. You know what I mean? But he's like instant impact just by being there. And again, you remember it, but to see it just like right there was a lot of fun. And then Kerry, like he's a guy that he'll take any role, like obviously like the team player stuff and all and everything. But I think we all like the idea of him in the middle order more, and maybe it's just that simple thing, man. Like he did it, the numbers are what they are, but at the same time, like some guys might just be better watching a pitcher go after a couple hitters, and then being able to attack from there. We'll see. But it did, like I said, feel like a more wholesome element to the Tigers. And then also, seeing Javi Baez back at shortstop, it was, there's just like a lot of aesthetics there that were kind of a throwback element of the team. But in a way, still, we're not. It's still new. Like as much as we talk about the Tigers having the best record since August, whatever 10th or whatever that stat is, 11th. This construct and like they're doing all the same things. This construction is still relatively new because you mentioned the Veerling piece, Javi being a part of it, Torque being Torque a part of it. I think in terms of ceiling and upside, I think there's still some scratching going on.
Well, there could be. There are also going to be some things to sort out. Namely, I think third base. How much is Javi playing? Where is he playing? Trey Sweeney, who's kind of cooled off again. How hard are you going to force that? Would you actually seek an impactful trade deadline upgrade? The Bo Bichette name keeps getting thrown out there, and couple weeks ago, I was like, I don't know if it makes sense anymore. And now Matt Vierling's hurt again, and Trey Sweeney's cooled off, and it's like you can talk yourself right back into that all over again. These are going to be some of the big questions that I think are answered over the next month plus. Things are good. You feel very good about everything, but there's going to be some sorting out to do. And I guess that's all, again, assuming you kind of stay this level of complete and you don't have any other major injuries to speak of.
Any thoughts on Jahan being the guy that got sent down?
In a way, it kind of sucks because I like Jahan and I liked what he could bring to the team, but it ultimately made sense. I think it was the right call. I'm not really sure there was a close second in terms of the construction of the team. Jahan was the one guy really just not playing very often. That was making it hard for him to get in a rhythm. He still did some nice things. Never really got going, but you look, he still had, I think, a 340 plus on base percentage. But there's more in that bat, and he probably needs more consistent at bats for us to see that. It's just kind of interesting, just like what's his future? How is he ever going to get those consistent at bats, barring injuries to other players? Even on a team that had a couple injuries, he wasn't getting everyday at bats. That's a little bit of a question that is going to hang in the air, but in a way, He didn't play a ton in the field, but I think looked improved. Um, yeah, I don't know. Makes you wonder, and makes you wonder what it will be like maybe the next time we see Jay in. I do think we'll see him again, this season, maybe even soon if there's a reason or a need for it.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing he can accomplish in AAA anymore. However, I do think he is a guy that to get the best out of him. I've said this before, but to get the best out of him, I think he needs to play, just about every day to get the best usage of his skill set. So I'm sure there'll be an opportunity that arises because again, we're still in early June. Lot of season left. Lot of games to be played. So. All right, now it is time for our Arena Club Player Spotlight. All right, Arena Club Player Spotlight. We talked about Parker Meadows. We talked about Kerry Carpenter. Mentioned Torque in there. And you know who's still like right up there, man? And I think we're still not doing a good enough job, like present company included, of just kind of talking about Riley Green. Riley
Green.
Like continues to be that just like kind of steady presence that like he's playing nearly every day. AJ's trying to preserve his body as best he can, but like he's a guy that he bats against lefties. He's in the field. He just made that sliding catch on Monday and then banged into a wall. And am I going to take this opportunity to say that is his body being preserved in left field? No, I'm not going to. But I'm not going to say it. But anyway, Riley Green, I still think is a little bit under discussed. And
he's incredibly under-discussed,
okay.
underrated.
Yeah.
I wrote a story that said Riley Green has become the hitter he was drafted to be. And there was a decent amount of people being like, well, he strikes out too much. And again, both things can be true. He is already an all-star player in the month of May, coming off a fairly cold April. He had an 894 OPS. Riley Green was drafted to be the type of player who can have an 894 OPS, who can make an all-star game. He was highly impactful. He had a great month. He had a career high for a single month with 24 RBIs. He came up in a lot of big spots. There are still ways he can grow. One of the most encouraging things about Riley Green was that in each of his pro seasons until this year, he had cut the strikeout rate, he had upped the walk rate. That trend has reversed. Even in May, he was probably punching more than you would want. 36 strikeouts in 27 games, only walked 10 times. He clearly needs to be a little more selective. The best version of Riley Green is going to be a little more selective. But I do think we have to live with the fact there's some swing and miss in his game. There kind of always has been. Some of it is a function of having the steepest swing in baseball. And I've said before, like, is there any trade-off? Can he cut that down, still hit for power, maybe not punch as much, not be as prone to the huge slumps? That's a evolving question, but especially when you hear AJ Hinch talk, so much of it is still about pitch selection. Riley is still chasing a lot. His chase rates in the bottom quarter, of major league players. That's something that is improvable. That's more of an aggression thing, not just a swing and miss thing, not a bat playing thing. But again, regardless, Riley Green is punching out and chasing way too much, and his overall numbers are still very good, are still probably all-star worthy. And as you said, Kieran, for the entire month of May, he was just stable. He's in the middle of your order. He is producing. He is that guy, even if he's not totally a finished product.
Yeah, and like there with Torque and the hype around that, there's like the comeback element, the 1-1 thing with Javi and and the hype around that. There's the comeback element, and like obviously he's got a reputation for being a noteworthy player. If you want to go whole team, Skubal coming off Cy Young, and there's all these like Kerry Carpenter, like there's all these guys that kind of just get more flash, and then it's like, oh, Riley Green just launched another one. You know what I mean? And you talk about pitch selection, combining those words can be a little hard. Pitch selection, he's hitting coming into Tuesday 481 when he swings at when he makes contact on the first pitch. Not bad. 4 home runs. So
I like that.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot because there's like, it's not sexy to say. I'm glad you brought up pitch selection. Everybody else is bringing this up because I think that's what a lot of this comes down to in general. And he's still a young player, who is still growing. And like at a certain point, I think there's some livability with a lot of livability with how he's approaching everything right now. In the zone, when he makes contact, when he swings in the zone or makes contact in the zone, it's 329 batting average with a 991 OPS. All right. Out of the zone, it's 156. I don't know what league average is on that. I imagine league average is kind of
Not
down
very good. Yeah.
out of the zone. But you say all these things that are, some level of concerning. And it's like, all right, well, his barrel rate is still 96 percentile. His hard hit rate, 80 percentile. It's a lot of red here. Sweet spot, 80. Bat speed, 88. Like there's all these things that's like, okay, I think we can deal with some swing and miss here when he's doing all these things. And then if you look at his splits, he's still got to hit lefties better. Not really breaking any news there. However, when against non-lefties, he's tearing the ball. All right. So like that all that stuff is kind of baked in. And I still think, for somebody who was at one time the positional face of this rebuild, he has lived up to that with more room to grow. And he's still going to be somewhat of the pillars of the Tigers, rebuild and ascension into whatever they accomplish this year. And moving forward. So in the defense, he still can turn on the burners when he needs to. We've seen it. So like there's still a lot there that I think people need to grasp and appreciate more. And that is
right. And again, it's fair to be concerned about the injuries. We talk about giving him a break. He's played in all but 2 games. That's another thing. No one likes it when he's out of the lineup. But actually, I think he needs to be getting a little bit more time off.
Well, hopefully with
As hard
Wenzel
as
and
that is to
Parker,
do. And
that can be that's a little bit more viable.
I think you're right.
And so like he's done what he's had to do and excelled at it to this point. And we probably still don't fully grasp exactly what his impact has been to steady the team with all those injuries. And 1.1 WAR is nothing to sneeze at this point of the year, but it's also like, oh, the all-star, you know what I mean? Like it's not getting the headlines. But
right.
he's kind of had to carry the team a little bit at certain stretches. So I'm sure that's part of the conversation that the Tigers are having, both managerial and front office. So he is our Arena Club player spotlight. Now let's check out the slab pack we ripped from our friend comes to us from our friends from Arena Club.
Let's check this out. Arena Club.
See, a lot of anticipation here. You guys got to follow us on YouTube to be able to see this.
Here we go. It's a Riley Green card, baby.
Looking pretty good. Riley Green, that's a card that is normally out of my price range. So the Arena Club gods gifted us with this one. Autograph on mint 9. That's fresh right there, Cody. I'm keeping that one.
Yeah, people might want to hear about the buyback program, though.
Yeah, so like, the whole point of Arena Club is that this is digital card collecting that also has the option for physical card collecting. So it's the best of both worlds. If you do what we just did at Arena Club, which, by the way, use code FOUL, 20% off your first slab pack, you have the option in order to keep in the vault, get physical, or digitally trade. So if you go to arenaclub.com/FOUL, use code FOUL for 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. You have all those options. It is almost limitless, the possibilities at arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL for 20% off. All right, Cody. As we go into what I think it was like the genesis of this podcast idea, it's June. Mid-July is the All-Star game. We're like things are happening pretty quickly, and I thought what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of present certain Tigers with like their all-star case. And if you're arguing with your friends, if you're If you want to come back to it, you can come back to this episode at this point in the episode and be like, yes, that's why Dillon Dingler should be an all-star and dominate all your friends in the conversations, because we wanted this to kind of stand alone a little bit. And there's multiple options that we could have done for this first one, but the guy's red hot, and he just hit a home run on Monday. And sometimes you just gotta react with what's happening with in front of your very eyes, and that is Dillon Dingler. Dillon Dingler, Cody, is having a fantastic season. Fantastic
Amazing.
season. Like, he is right now 1.6 WAR. That's baseball reference WAR. 1.6 WAR behind the plate. A guy that we were, thinking could be good coming into this season. Certainly, there were topics that we discussed about how it was kind of an unproven catching room. Don't we look smart worrying about that? Jake Rogers gets hurt, and the Tigers are a top 3 pitching staff in the American League in basically every statistical category. So obviously that is owed a lot to Dillon Dingler, who calls the pitches and commands the catching room, obviously working with AJ and Chris and all that stuff. But what about the plate? Like, that's really where these catchers get like star status. All right. Well, in
Sure.
the American League, he's 3rd in WRC plus, he's 4th in OPS, he's 3rd in RBI, 3rd in average, and Cal Riley, oh my gosh,
Raleigh.
that's I just did some North Carolina State stuff and I still got that wrong today. So that's my bad there. Is ahead of like basically every one of these categories, and he's probably going to start. But the case for Dillon Dingler is strong as hell, considering that Dingler is right there and behind him in a lot of these offensive categories, and yet he's heading one of the best pitching staffs in Major League Baseball and certainly the American League. And I'm pretty sure, Cody, he leads all of Major League Baseball in pop-up assist outs. We saw that on Monday. So he leads the league in that. I'm
Pop-ups,
guessing.
yes. Unfortunately, the Tigers had a fly ball assist out go against them, but we will count that as different. Yeah, Kieran, Dillon Dingler, in what's been a charmed season where so much has gone right, Dillon Dingler has been one of those things that's, I don't want to say hard to explain, but almost a little hard to explain. We talked about coming into the year. Are we sure? What if Dingler just really struggles to hit? His minor league track record was a little bit up and down in terms of his offensive performance. He really started clicking last year. He hit 308 in AAA, then came to the big leagues and looked completely overmatched at times. He had 167 in his first 27 games. Fangraphs Zip projected him this year to hit 244 to be worth 1.8 WAR. Well, he's already blown past that. He's at 2 WAR on Fangraphs, which is 3rd among American League catchers, just behind Carlos Narvaez for that number 2 spot. And it just amazes me, honestly, that almost midway through the season, he's hitting 296. He's hitting for power. He's sustained a 126 WRC plus. He's been a legitimate threat at the plate. And talking to AJ Hinch, who said, maybe this isn't a stretch. Maybe this is who he is. I never would have quite evaluated Dillon Dingler as that level of bad.
Well, it
But
was,
it's been a long
yeah.
stretch where he has sustained that level of bad. I've been just really impressed with his ability to A, have good at bats, and B, drive the baseball with authority.
Well, it's the extra base stuff, which again
Yeah,
he showed last year in
you're right.
limited time last season. By the way, Carson Kelly's doing pretty good for Chicago, so shout out Carson. They know pitchers, they know catchers over there in Detroit. But like the extra base thing, there's a hint there, but like it's a real swing. It's a real valuable asset. It's a thing that in the pinch, I think we both agree you could DH Dillon Dingler. But the real case is that for him to be an all-star really comes down to this. He's probably your best all-around catcher in the American League. Now, he doesn't have the upside defensively or offensively as some of these other guys, but when they take the whole profile, it's hard to argue against him when his fielding run value is 96 and his hard
Yeah,
hit rate.
I mean, Cal Raleigh won a platinum glove last year, so I don't know if I can go that far,
I
but
mean,
I'll give you
Dingler's
second best.
Dingler's a better blocker, he's a better framer, and he's a better caught stealing guy this year.
this year so far. You're right.
And that's all the evidence that we can use. So like I said, argument could be made. The upside is better in other guys. Complete profile, argument could be made for one Dillon Dingler. So that is our case, the all-star case for one Dillon Dingler, and we'll get to some other guys later this month, as well as the Tigers could have several.
We can preview it a little bit. If Dingler plays well through June, I think he's got it, and he's on the best team in the AL. If that's still the case, entering the All Star game, I think he could go to the All Star game. Gleyber Torres, look at second baseman. It's a weak crop. Gleyber is number 1 right now in the AL. He's going to the All Star game. Tarek Skubal, we know, is going to the All Star game, and then you have Riley, Torque with very compelling cases. Casey Mize, Tommy Canely, Will Vest all have compelling cases.
Utility.
McKinstry, and yeah, certainly. Until recently, Avi Baez had a great case. He's actually leveled off in a bad way, but if he can pick it up again, he's got a case. I'm not sure what the number of All-Stars is going to be, Kieran. It could be really high.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to seeing that. The ballots are coming out soon, so we're going to be churning out this content that coincides with everybody talking about it. So again, be sure to follow us midweek all this month as we break down the All-Star cases for various Tigers. We're going to talk about what we're looking forward to in the rest of this White Sox series. But first, a word from our sponsors.
By now, you know about Arena Club. Buy, sell, trade, open up slab packs to get a card that you don't think you could get usually, but the Grails will tell you that, for example, there's an Aaron Judge rookie card in this week's slab packs, so make sure you check those out.
No doubt. Those are what you want, the Grails. Mm-hmm. Aaron Judge Grail is awesome, graded, traded if you want, tell you how much it's worth, whatever you want to do. And I'm a big Michael Jordan fan with my 23 shirt on. There's a Michael Jordan Grail in there that I'm looking forward to try to get.
20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL.
All right, coming back here, another kind of neat moment, and we try to highlight these because they're great every time. We finally got to see Dylan Smith Cody. Shout out to his family. Number one, the wholesome element of seeing the family see their brother, their boyfriend, their son, take the major league field for the first time. That never gets old. But also travel, because I imagine they were in Kansas City and had to wait and go to Chicago, and he finally got in, and he's a positive WAR player. So Dillon Smith is a positive WAR player. He pitched 2 innings, gave up only 1 hit. Still, as of now, still looking for that first career strikeout. But nice to see Dillon get in there, and they like him a lot. Something tells me they view him as an asset to upgrade this bullpen.
Yeah, you could tell his family is really happy. It's a real baseball family. There have been some stories done in the past, even when he was at Alabama. His a great grandmother who grew up rooting for the Birmingham Barons in the Negro Leagues. His mother knows what she is talking about. I've seen her out, I think, on the spring training backfields and stuff. And then, yeah, obviously just a great story. Overcoming a couple injuries, moving to the bullpen, and taking that in stride and really becoming a better pitcher. Hits a guy, kind of right off the bat, and then settles in and looks pretty good. I'm excited to see more from Dillon Smith, 100%.
Yeah, and we'll talk about another kind of debut of sorts for our Friday episode with Sawyer Gipson-Long. Expected as of now to start in the series. So looking forward to that too, because again, fun story at that time, and overcoming injuries and all that stuff. That stuff never gets old either. So plenty of storylines that we'll talk about to end the week, and then we'll also talk about the homestand as well. Anything else, Cody, before we get out of here?
No, that's it for now.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just a little bit of a curveball of an episode midweek. See if you guys like it. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page at Tiger Territory _ YouTube, Instagram, Apple, Spotify. You guys know the deal. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.